Welcome back to Make Space Boring, the quick show about who I'm meeting and what I'm studying in the space field. This is episode number 35. We've got a number of things to deal with. Coronavirus is doing a number on everybody. Talking to a few people, a lot of anxiety out there, me included. We can't make plans, right? Can't travel anywhere, can't make decisions to go to things or see anybody, and that kind of sucks. So I hope that you're having a less challenging time dealing with this. Most of our staff work remotely. I'm down here in the bunker surrounded by concrete. I'm fine. But, so we're used to that remote meetings on Zoom and doing stuff over the internet and that. So it's not a big adjustment for us, except on the process engineering side, can't be sending out agents to go and document people's processes, do process improvement projects in person, and you kind of have to. I can, do an interview with somebody and hear what they say across the internet in a Zoom meeting, but I can't verify it. And that's a big part of what we do, is verifying that what your people say they're doing is actually what happens. Not because people lie. Most of the time, there's somebody stealing in every organization. I'm sorry to break it to you, but it's true. The thing is, though, that's not the most common thing. The most common thing is stuff where people glide over steps, or Mary's afraid to talk to Tom, so she doesn't drop the report off to him. She hands it to Barry, and hopefully Barry will hand it on over to Tom. But it takes 2 days, and the whole successive process chain from that, which could include reordering products on your supply chain, is held up by that time period. So, a lot of verification has to be done in person in that. So that's kind of a pain in the butt for the process engineering side of the business. But the data science and the OSINT stuff is fine. All that stuff's done pretty much online or by our officers in their own homes. So last week I recorded with Jess Sponable. He's an Air Force guy, former DARPA project manager, managed a lot of projects, lots of experience, and we had to get our questions and answers approved by the Air Force ahead of time, and that took several months, but they did approve it, and so we were able to have that conversation, staying carefully on the rails, and it was fun. Look for that when it comes out. This week's episode is with Dr. Jonathan McDowell, who is a Harvard-Smithsonian astrophysicist. So we talk about spaghettification and black holes and quasars and all those wonderful things. But he's had a connection with the Chandra X-ray telescope, which is out there at some ridiculous orbit height, like 80,000 miles. It's a long way. A third or halfway from here to the moon. It's a long way out there. It's way high. It's much higher than the geosats, which I think are at about a quarter of that. So that's a great conversation. Check that out. He's a cheerful guy, and he also tracks just about every launch. And if you watch his Twitter feed, he's on there updating this stuff. He hosts a thing, Jonathan's Space Report, on his space page, and I link to that in the description of the episode. Man, guy's been tracking launches for like 40 years or something. I mean, it's a long time, and it's a hobby for him. So we touched on that briefly, what it's like for him to be updating that stuff, and it's actually relaxing for him. I don't think it would be relaxing for me, but he enjoys it. I was pleased to book again with Daniel Faber. If you don't know that name, he's one of DSI's founders and has since moved on to other things. We were going to connect at one point, but it didn't happen, and now many months later we've managed to reconnect and booked a time, so looking forward to that. Yesterday I was talking with a colleague in the space industry, and we realized, he asked me, like, what are the fail points for smallsats or CubeSats? What breaks the most often in these launches? And I realized we're a process engineering company. We have that information somewhere, and I knew where it was, but I didn't have it on the top of my head. So I went and did 10 minutes of checking and got the data, and made a video of 6 points that smallsats, CubeSats typically fail. And I was thinking about it later, and I want to point out the attitude control systems are rarely at fault. They're not on the list. So go check that out. I'll link to it in the description. hopefully I'll remember. If I don't, somebody will point it out to me. I'm also, this will be my last thing, I'm asking for Ask Professor Astronaut submissions. So if you've missed these things, go to the Cold Star Tech YouTube channel. There's playlists there. Look at the playlists, okay? I don't need you to look through 100+ episodes of the Cold Star Project. If you want to do that, go ahead. There's a lot of great business stuff in there. It's not just space. But there are playlists for subsets of things like sales and marketing and infrastructure, space policy and law and that kind of thing. And also a couple of series, this one, Make Space Boring, and also the new Ask Professor Astronaut, which is kind of a goofy, fun thing. And I am asking for you to submit a question, preferably a deadpan one, you know, about something that maybe you know about, maybe you don't. And I started this with Bryant Baker, who's a space lawyer and an Air Force JAG. I've interviewed him, and that interview will be coming out sometime in the next few weeks. I mean, you saw with Jonathan McDowell, we recorded New Year's or Christmas Eve. So the gap is from then until now for most of these things. The perils of a popular show, right? So if you want to record yourself asking the question, obviously in your own voice, and submit that to me as like an MP3 or WAV file or something like that, I will include it in the Ask Professor Astronaut question, which I think is fun, and people could recognize your voice, and it just makes the thing a little more interesting. So if you want to do that, you don't have to worry about the goofy answers. I'll take care of that, and we'll get an episode up. I'm trying to do one of those a week. We did a kind of a seed pack of 3 of them, but with coronavirus really affecting things, it really kind of knocked us around last week, you know. And I know I'm not the only company founder who's had that kind of issue, but we'll get back on track, and the new normal is coming in, you know. I'm going to be recording in an hour with Joseph Paris. He goes by JP, and he's written this book. It's over here. I see it's my prop in Cold Star blue colors, so I approve. It's called State of Readiness, and it's an operational excellence book. The title made me think of like the cat-like, you know, we're getting ready to get ready, and I was wrong, you know, and I'm not the only one who thought that too. I've shown it to a few people, and they had that reaction. And then when I explained to them, no, this is actually about getting your organization in a state where it's able to proactively identify and respond to threats or changes in the market or in operations or strategy that need to be done today so that you could survive, right? And it's a good book. I mean, I'm an operations management trained guy. I have a 2-year diploma of technology. I took 10 and 11 courses a term, and they just murdered us in that thing. This was in the early to middle 90s. And 30 people graduated, 50 started from that program. So it was a meat grinder, and we went to school 6 or 7 days a week for 2 years. It was... Yeah, I have a business degree, and that's great and everything, you know, but that operations management program is where I learned to punch business problems in the face, and also take a few punches myself, because we had suffered. Honestly, even with plant manager jobs where I would work 13 days straight with 1 day off for months and months, I have not worked as hard as I did in that program. So operations management is super important. This interview is going to be about operational excellence. We need that in the space industry. The space industry there's a lot of new people to new space they don't know what they don't know. And I encourage all of you, me included, I'm cognizant of this, you know, we don't know what we don't know. And the problem is we think we know what we know, and we know what we don't know, and we think that's half of the stuff, maybe. And then what we know or don't know we don't know is like the other half. That's not true. The stuff we know, and the stuff we know we don't know is at best an eighth, and probably shrinking all the time of everything. So what we don't know is nearly all of it. Okay, you're not as competent as you think you are, and neither am I. That's just a fact. And so it's always powerful to bring in somebody from outside your organization to have a look at it And that's something that we can do. So if you want that outside perspective, I'm always bringing in outside consultants, paying people for an hour of their time or getting a consulting package to come in and look at our business, because you see stuff every day and you're distracted by that tire fire over there or whatever. You can't see the forest for the trees, and neither can I in my own business. Some of the stuff that people tell me is so brain deadly obvious, but when you're in the thick of it and you're firefighting every day and you're trying to conduct a strategy that you committed to 3 months ago, right, for the quarter, it's not always easy to see what is obvious to that fresh pair of eyes. So I encourage us all to do that. This is a great time to things have slowed down a little bit, right, in terms of the frantic traveling schedules. Space is very conference dependent, I've noticed. Maybe we should be meeting on Zoom. If that's not a normal thing for you, I know, for example, in the financial advisor field, people get nervous when you start talking about Zoom. They're not used to it. Maybe over here with more tech savvy people, people will be used to it. I'm happy to meet with you and find out a little bit about your world. That's cool with me. I've got a few hours here and there to meet with people, and it doesn't have to be this. Yesterday, the colleague and I met for an hour and a half. I didn't intend for that, but I did have time available for it, and I was happy to do that. So if you want it to be a 15-minute thing, that's fine. This is not a meet for coffee thing. I hate that. This is a non-scalable activity of building relationships, which are super important in this field. So I look forward to that. If you want to take me up on that, I'm thinking about doing something else. I'm going to ask around a little bit and see if I can get a few other people on board before I reveal what that is. But anyway, hopefully the internet will stay up and everything will be fine, and I'll be able to talk to you on Thursday. Thanks for watching.